Hey everyone, okay, so this is a slightly different video and I wanted to make it because some people were asking a little bit more about I hate the word journey, but the journey to becoming where you are. And I want to give you a little bit of a backstory with regards to myself. So my first memory of makeup was when I was perhaps 6 or 7, maybe that sort of age. And I wanted my mum to buy me some blue and pink, I think, eyeshadow, so I could play with it on her. And that was my first memory of it. Growing up, I didn't really think too much more about it. I became very interested in exercise and nutrition and studied that. And I studied and read all about that throughout my teenage years and became very interested in all aspects of that. I was also an incredibly unhappy teenager, to say the least, and had numerous issues and problems that were going around my mind and was just generally unhappy. My mum we weren't rich by any stretch of the imagination. We had no excess money or anything like that, and I felt very aggrieved by that as a child. And as a teenager, I wanted things that I couldn't have, and I felt very agitated about that. Of course, all the things that we lacked in money was made up for in affection. Being a teenager, of course, I would have preferred the money, but that is neither here nor there. That is teenagers. And I had a very lovely mother who is adorable, and my relationship with her is a wonderful one. And after that, I went to study nutrition and exercise. And after that, where I lived was Somerset and Burnham-on-Sea. There was nothing ever going to happen there. And I just wanted to leave, so I did. I packed up and left for South Wales. And within a few months of arriving, my skin broke out. And as I've mentioned this numerous times on videos, that it was one of the most painful experiences. 80% of my cheeks were covered in acne. They never came to a head. They were bright red and under the skin, and I hated it. And it took a huge toll on me. After I dealt with the acne, and the links in the description bar below, I've been posting videos on it. It took me a long time to recover from it. Even though my skin was clear, I was still doing this when looking in the mirror, which is what I did to cover my face because I didn't want to see it. I was so unhappy and hated the way I looked. But that was also the catalyst for me to remember about makeup, because what I did was I wanted to cover it. And I got this god-awful foundation from Origins and would apply it really, really heavily, and thinking that it looked better than the acne. It probably looked worse, but at least I couldn't see it. And that reminded me of my love for makeup and wanting to just the fascination of it, the joy I got from it. I didn't get much joy. I'm not one of these people that gets really, really excited about much, but makeup brought me so much joy. The buying of it, the experimenting with it, the practicing with it. It was one of the only things that made me feel free. It took me out of my world, which was a very quiet world. When I moved to South Wales, I didn't know anybody and I was very, very lonely. And it took me out of myself and it set me free. And after that, I couldn't just suddenly go and do makeup because I had to make a living. So I was still doing my job and practicing and learning makeup and trying on the way. And I did lots of things right and lots of things wrong. Contouring, foundation, concealer, powder, the whole face came very, very easily to me. The rest was much more of a struggle. But those were the things that I knew, and of course that I'd read about back then. You know, YouTube wasn't really around, and you couldn't really get makeup DVDs and things like that. So I learned from books. I learned from Way Bandy and Kevin Aqua, which were very busy and very informative on contouring. And after all of that, I started to practice on my friends. And my friends were older at the time. So I was practicing on people who were in their 40s and 50s, which I think really helped me because it allowed me to understand the skin more. Because after I'd been practicing on them, I remember doing makeup on a girl who was 20, and the whole thing went so quickly and so easily. And that was in part because with makeup on mature skin, you have to take your time. The placement is much more advanced. You know, the skin moves, so you've got to be very careful and very accurate. Progressed from there. I went out, and what I did was completely blag it, and I thought to myself what I wanted. I looked into the area that I was in, and I remember thinking, okay, what is the most affluent areas around where I live? Because they're the ones I want to go to. You know, why earn £50 if I could earn 500? So I went to the most affluent areas, and then went into bridal boutiques and things like that, and said, I'm a makeup artist, help me. And they did, and they referred people to me, and that's how it got started. Excuse me, I was still doing my job, and then doing makeup in the evenings and the weekends and whenever I could, and it progressed from there. I then went, and I did eventually go to makeup school and study. I had saved up enough money and from work, and I'd taken a course, and it was kind of informative and not so much. I had very mixed feelings about the whole kind of event, really. The day I went there, I was offered a job the first day I was there, and then the job was taken away from me for several reasons, which were quite strange. But it was like it was offered to me, and then it was taken away the day after that, when I kind of didn't want to do certain things. It was very peculiar, but it was very uplifting, because I'd been there one day and I was offered a job to go and teach at the school, and I'd only been there one day, and there was no other background information on me. I could have been a complete novice for all they knew. So I was very pleased with that. And it also gave me the confidence to realize that I really could do skin really, really well. And I just needed to practice on some of the other things. I progressed from there. And the one thing that makes me feel very good is, you know, I have all this makeup around me here, and it costs a fortune. And I like to have the high-end makeup because I want to give my clients the very best possible experience. But also because growing up, I didn't have any of that stuff. I could never have afforded it. When I was 20, I had zero money and was paying debts off that weren't even mine. So to have this stuff in front of me and know that I paid for that myself, and I can afford now to buy that because I've worked so hard. I haven't had a holiday in over 8 years. I have worked consistently every single day pretty much. And it makes me feel very proud of myself that I've got that. And I think people think when they're going to go into makeup that it's just going to happen, you're just going to suddenly do it, and it doesn't work that way. I've worked behind counters, and you could have blinked and missed me because I was gone within, I spent 2 days there in total. The third day I was like, I'm having none of this is ridiculous. And my favourite story about the counter work was that I'd never worked on a counter before, and I hate hard selling, so I'm never going to do it. And it was the most amazing experience because I had never sold, and I outsold every single person that day and the following day that I was working there, despite never selling before, because I didn't hard sell. I had people coming back the day after buying more stuff because I wasn't trying to say you needed this concealer. There was a 17-year-old girl there who wanted a concealer and she just needed a corrector, but we were told you've got to sell her the concealer, then the corrector, then the powder, and I was like, no way, I'm not selling her that, she only needs a corrector. And her mum then came back the next day and bought so much stuff, and I hadn't recommended anything because, and the clients were coming back. And the best thing was there was 5 women all waiting just to see me on the second day. And it was such a lovely experience. But I couldn't stay there because I hated the politics of counter work. I didn't enjoy some of the members of staff there, although it was only actually 2 members of staff. The rest was so lovely, and I'm friends with them now. And they've all gone on to be really amazing artists, and they're in really high positions of jobs in Tom Ford and all this other kind of stuff. So it was really good experience, but the members of staff that I had problems with, I just really didn't agree with the way that they were speaking about the people at the counters behind their backs, and that's not something I'm interested in. So I left, and careers progressed, but none of it just happened. Everything was very, very gradual, and I'm now in a position where I can pick and choose my jobs, and and I still work, and I've met and studied with some of the world's top makeup artists now, and I have their number. It is an incredible experience to have gotten to where I've gotten and know that I've done it by myself. No one helped me, no one gave me any money, no one, you know, no one ever lent me a hand and tried to help, really. And this is why it's such a great experience for me, because I can say that this is what you can do, and you can have this wonderful life if you want. And I think people expect, if you're a makeup artist, that you want to do lots of editorial, or you want to become a celebrity makeup artist. I have no interest in editorial work because it's fantasy, and I want somebody to look beautiful in real life, not in a fantasy setting. So it was never really going to be for me. As far as celebrity work goes, I have had numerous offers, as I mentioned to you, about having to relocate to Paris and work with a celebrity there who wanted me to work with her on a permanent basis, a daily basis. And that was just never going to happen, because I have a life and I have a job that I really love, and it would mean leaving that. And while it would open a plethora of doors for me, that there is the honest truth about the situation is I'm not one of these really flamboyant people. I don't ooze in self-confidence. I'm not the most confident person. And in certain situations, what happens is I start to sweat. And I mean quite literally sweat. It starts to come down, and I feel very uncomfortable, and I feel very under pressure. And I don't like that, and that's probably is the main reason why I have not pursued it and haven't. I've had offers in, and I have not taken them, because I just like what I do. I like the people I work with, and I like what I do. I like what I do on YouTube very much. And I want people to see that you can succeed as a makeup artist, you can build a great life, you can build a business. You know, I built my brush business, and you can do these things all by yourself without the help of anybody if you don't want to. When I'm asked about the brushes, you know, I'm very honest about it. It was all self-paid for, and it was my entire savings plus some from the bank. And when I'd done that and the money had gone and they were being made, I was just terrified that it wasn't going to work, because I'd invested everything I owned in terms of all the money in the bank. It was all gone. And then I owed some, and it was a scary, scary thing. And when we were talking about the brushes, people were asking, coming forward and saying, we'd like to do brushes with you. We can, you know, make you a foundation brush that's going to cost $1, and we can sell it for 30. And that is, by the way, how things really work. Oftentimes brushes cost between 50 cents and $1 to make, and they are sold at 30, 40 times that amount. And I got these samples, and they were just disgusting. And I just remember thinking, there's no way on earth I could ever do any business with you, because I hated it. Plus they wanted to use my name. It wasn't really me, the designs weren't really me. So I was having none of it, which is why I decided to seek out the Japanese manufacturers and get them and these various companies in Japan to make the brushes that I really wanted. And it was absolute, you know, serendipity that when I went to Beautylish and said, I am making some brushes and I really want you to sell them. And we were talking of pricing and things, because you have to discuss all these things. And I was like, well, you see, as an example, I found my foundation brush. Remember that most are made with like $1. Now, my foundation brush costs 20 times that to make, and that doesn't include tax and shipping. So you can see the problems that I had when I was going to speak to people. I was thinking they were going to think I'm mad, but Beautylish just suddenly got it and understood the concept and what was behind it. They understood the fact that my original set, which was based on all my specifications, were all points, they were all crease brushes, and they got it. And it has been the most beautiful partnership. And to sell out worldwide 3, 4, 5 times in a row is just amazing to me. And you know, it's a humbling experience. And that's the point I want to make this video, is that you can come from humble beginnings without much money, and you can go and build your career, and you do it yourself. You do it one step at a way, and every day when I look at my makeup and when I'm doing something, it is cliche, but it's one of the few times where my mind stops and I am set free. I am free in this wonderful, glamorous, beautiful world of transformation, and it makes me so happy, because for somebody like me that's in my head a lot, it's nice to get out and to just be free, and that's what makeup does for me. And it's given me a career and a job and a life that has enabled me to set me free. And I want people to think, when they are looking at a career, whatever it is, what they love, that I truly believe that if you love what you do, the money will follow, and you can make a career out of what you want. It's finding your niche in life and finding your nook and cranny and going for it no matter what anybody else says. And that's my story. So there you go. Thanks for watching and listening, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.